Recording in progress.
Okay, so this is the general understanding of yoga in the society, and we discussed this is not the true definition of yoga. Okay, so all these different types of yoga, they just help you improve your health, but this is not true yoga. There is desktop yoga. You can- yeah, I mean, we sit in front of the computer 8 hours a day. That's yoga only. That's yoga only. And in between, you do some shavasana. You go to sleep. Yoga tennis. Wow, very interesting. So that's why it is important to understand what yoga is not all about before we can understand what yoga is all about. So another definition of yoga or another understanding of yoga in the society is they think that yoga means a person who practices uh, meditation and some breathing techniques, just like how you see in the left side of the picture here. Uh, the body of the person. You can only see bones and all the beard, everything has grown up so much. So this is the picture of yogi that comes into our mind when we talk about yoga. But this is not the true definition of yoga. So yoga means union in love between the individual consciousness and supreme consciousness, between soul and God. So now when we define yoga as a process to connect with God, right? Uh, so connect with God means you only connect something that is broken, right? You only connect something that is broken. If it is already connected, there's no process of connecting. So what is broken here? What is broken and what are we trying to fix it? So the thing that is broken here is our love for God is broken. Our love for God is broken. We lost. We lost our love for God. Krishna has not forgotten us. Krishna has not lost his love for us. That's why in Bhagavad Gita in 700 shlokas, Krishna expresses his love for us. Krishna tells us what to eat, what not to eat. Krishna tells us what to do, what not to do. Krishna tells how to behave. So many things Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna expresses his love in Bhagavad Gita for us, but we have forgotten our love for Krishna. Because we fell from the spiritual world into material world. Because of our mistake, we fell from spiritual world into material world, and we are suffering here. We are trying to become God by ourselves. We are trying to become God by ourselves. So we have forgotten love for Krishna. But that love is there. That love is there in a dormant state in our heart. It's in an inactive state. So just like if you see a log of wood, there is fire in wood, right? But it is in inactive state. So uh, by exposing the log of the wood to certain process, you can activate fire in it. Okay, either when you rub two pieces of wood very intensely, or when you take a matchstick and then lit up the wooden log. By exposing the wooden log, yeah, to some process, we can activate the inactive fire in the wood. Similarly, by exposing the jiva to certain process, we can revive the dormant love for Krishna. The love for Krishna is in a dormant state. It's in an inactive state. So our goal is to activate that, to revive that. So the yoga is all about activating the dormant love for Krishna and connecting the soul with God. Okay, reviving our lost relationship with God. And this is nothing but a karma. Okay, any yoga that we discussed in the previous slide, the jnana yoga, karma yoga, ashtanga yoga, and the other yoga, bhakti yoga, which we are going to discuss in a bit, it's all a karma. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about these different types of yoga in various sections. Yeah.
Just one clarification actually. Uh, in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they have another type of yoga they practice, which is called Prapatti Yoga or Sharanagati Yoga, which is like surrendering.
Yeah.
That is not spoken about in Bhagavad Gita.
That is nothing but bhakti yoga.
Is the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Prapatti, Sharanagati yoga. I mean, they are calling it as Sharanagati yoga, but in reality, there is nothing called as Sharanagati yoga. It is bhakti yoga only. So the culmination of bhakti yoga or the perfection of bhakti yoga is Sharanagati. That is the last instruction of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 18, shloka number 66. Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. That means abandon all varieties of rituals, all varieties of yogas, all varieties of pujas, all varieties of philosophies. Abandon everything and just surrender unto me. That is Sharanagati. So Sharanagati is the culmination or the perfection of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So in Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters, middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. There are 18 chapters, 700 shlokas, 18 chapters. The first 6 chapters collectively known as Karma Yoga. The last 6 chapters collectively known as Jnana Yoga. Middle 6 chapters collectively known as Bhakti Yoga. And Krishna talks about Ashtanga Yoga in one chapter, chapter 6. Okay, which is part of the Karma Yoga, the first 6 chapters. So, according to Bhagavad Gita, these are the 4 types of yogas. So, you can consider these different yogas as different steps on the yoga ladder. Different rungs are the steps of the yoga ladder. Karma, Jnana, Dhyana, Bhakti. Jnana Yoga is superior to Karma Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga is superior to the other two yogas. Bhakti Yoga is superior to everything else. Okay? So before we discuss about these different types of yogas, let's try to understand the classification of human beings. They can be classified into 2 categories, law abiders and law breakers. So law breakers are those people who perform those activities that are prohibited in Shastras. Okay, and last week we discussed a sample of it, and then we opened a can of worms. So I don't want to even mention that topic actually now. By the way, after that class, I did more research. I talked to somebody who is well versed in Ramayana, and then I listened to one lecture also that happened very recently. There is some Ramayana Sadas that happened, in South India, in Andhra Pradesh, in Hyderabad recently. So in that Sadas, in that meeting, different experts from different organizations they spoke about Ramayana, and one person he dedicated his talk on this topic: Did Rama eat meat or not? So he spoke very interesting things actually. It's in Telugu. I can forward that in the group. Whoever understands Telugu, they can listen. Others, you can use some Google Translator or something. But basically, what he what he mentioned was Rama did not eat meat. Okay. So last week, with a lot of affirmation, I told that yes, Rama ate meat. I don't know why, but looks like that is wrong. So Rama did not eat meat. So next week, what we should do is we should do some prayaschitta by singing some Rama Kirtana. Yeah. So um, he's not a very popular speaker like Samaveda Shanmukha Sharma, Chaganti, not a very popular speaker, but he spoke very succinct points actually, with some shastric proofs. Okay. Um,
You mentioned something like in Ramcharitmanas or somewhere like it is there,
mhm.
right?
What is there?
Ram ate me.
That is wrong.
Sundarkand, yes. Maybe
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, looks like that is wrong. Yeah. So you speak Telugu? No, you don't speak Telugu, right?
I
Okay.
understand Telugu, but
Yeah.
I can't speak.
Okay. So I can summarize. Okay, for those of you who don't, not now, but I'll send that lecture in the group first, and then I'll summarize in the WhatsApp message what he spoke. So okay, let's come back to this. Otherwise, we'll end up talking about that only. Okay, lawbreakers. I mean, there are so many things to talk about Lord Rama. We can talk about his 16 virtuous qualities. So many things we can talk about Rama. But this has become a hot topic. Everybody wants to talk about that only. Okay. Uh, so lawbreakers. So those are the people who perform activities that are prohibited in the Shastras. And they don't believe in punya karma, papa karma. They don't believe in life after death. They don't believe in reincarnation. They don't believe in going to hellish planets. Nothing. Just one life. Leave it to the full extent. Okay. King size. Yeah. So we definitely see these lawbreakers in today's society in Kali Yuga. As Kali Yuga is progressing, the adharma increases every day, right? So we see that in today's age, but this type of practice, the law breaking practice, was there in the ancient times also. There was a saint by name Charvaka Muni. Okay. Now, whenever we hear the word Muni or saint, we think of a sattvic person or a person who is sitting like that and meditating. Okay, but this Charvaka Muni is a very interesting person. His philosophy was complete materialistic philosophy. So he says, Yavat jivet sukam jivet, grinam kritva, grinam kritva, घृतं पिबेत् भस्मीभूतस्य देहस्य कृता पुनरागमनो भवेत्. So he says, so Krishna, why don't you read the translation?
Beg, borrow, or steal, just do it. Don't worry about sinful reactions. Who has seen God or the soul? Forget all this. Just squeeze it all out.
Yeah. So the specific word in the second line, Gritam, Grina Krutva, Gritam pipet. Ghritam means ghee. Okay, ghee. So ghee is expensive, right? I mean, in the ancient times, even now also, it's if you want pure cow ghee, it's very expensive. So you beg, borrow, or steal, but drink ghee. That was his philosophy. Drink ghee means uh, get the best, get the best in everything. You beg, borrow, or steal, but get the best and enjoy. Okay, that was his philosophy. Don't worry about sinful reaction. Who has seen God or the soul? Okay, so maybe all the modern day materialists took inspiration from Charvaka Muni.
Actually, in a way, it's like a testimonial to he also.
Testimonial to
Saying like he is so good for your
ghee is
valuable
so
things.
valuable. Yeah.
You can also like do it by
Yes.
what you call loaning, getting a loan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even in Ramayana, there is a rishi.
Hmm.
He is actually one of the advisors of Dasharatha.
Hmm.
When Rama is in the forest and he says, "I cannot come because my dad has. I promised to my dad that I will stay in the forest for
Yeah.
15 years." He says, "Your dad is gone.
Mm.
Like basically, there is no soul. There is nothing called soul.
Yeah.
Come back. Nobody will care."
Oh.
Right, like, and then he says the worst thing that my dad did is to hire you as his like advisor. I thought you were a good guy. Why did you tell me like this? I cannot abandon my duties.
Yeah.
And then Vashishta basically says, no, no, no. He just said it to see at least now will you come or not. Like
Oh.
even for that, like Rama does not like listen.
Yeah.
So even in Ramayana times there were
Yeah, we see people like this.
Jabali.
He actually
Jabali Rishi. Yeah.
told in a different tone to convince Rama to return back home.
Ah.
So he was saying that there is nothing called your dad or he is gone. There is nothing permanent in this world.
Yeah.
Why you need to do this Pitru Karma and all the things.
Hmm.
When you do some kind of shard here, how it can go and reach someone in celestial world.
Yeah.
All these are just eyewash you just be back to Ayodhya.
Yeah.
So he was saying everything in the opposite direction to convince him
To
bring
convince
him back.
Rama to come back.
But since Rama started advising him,
Yeah.
then as he said, like Valmiki interpreted and said like Vasishtha, yeah. He said like okay, he knows everything.
Hmm.
He's just like speaking in another way to convince you and bring you
Hmm.
back.
Yeah.
But that what I was trying to say is that he knew it because in those days there were people like that.
Yes.
Hmm.
So he was like trying to take their side and speak to see at least like Rama.
Yeah.
Even in that time,
Yeah.
there were people like that. Sir.
Yeah. So this is not new. So it's been coming since ages, since previous yugas. And we see in the in the society, the materialistic people, they work as if they work and live as if they are never going to die. Okay. There's an interesting story from Mahabharata when Pandavas were in exile in the forest. One day, uh, they were roaming in the forest and they became thirsty, and they wanted to go to a nearby river to fetch water. So first, Nakula goes to the river, and as soon as he touches the water, then a gigantic demon appears there. His name is Yaksha. He's actually Yama. So somehow he became Yaksha, and then so he appears. And then he warns Nakula, saying that you cannot take water unless you answer my questions. And then Nakula says, sorry? Yeah, Nakula says, no, hell with your questions. I'm very thirsty. Let me take water now. As soon as he touches the water, he dies. Similarly, all other four Pandavas, including Arjuna, Bhima, everybody dies. And then finally, Yudhishthira comes. So when Yudhishthira also comes and touches the water, again Yaksha appears, and Yaksha asks the same question that you cannot touch the water unless you answer my questions. And then and Yudhishthira agrees. Yudhishthira agrees to answer his questions, and Yaksha asks 100 questions. That's why if you see somebody asking too many questions, you say, stop your Yaksha Prashna. Stop your Yaksha Prashna. So Yaksha asks interesting questions there. For example, one question that he asks is, what is uh, what is heavier than earth? What is heavier than earth? Any guesses? Hmm? What is it? Rain? No. The depth you're talking about, right? Rain is depth. Huh? Okay. No. Heavier than earth. Earth itself is very heavy, right? Prithvi. Prithvi is very heavy. So what is heavier than earth? Heavier means uh, something that has more weightage than earth.
Sun.
Hmm?
Sun. Sun.
Sun? Sun. It is mother's love. Yudhishthira replies to Yaksha saying that it is mother's love. Mother's love is more heavier. In other words, more valuable, more precious or more valuable than earth itself. Okay? So all the mothers celebrate. And then what is heavier than mountain? Yaksha asks second question. What is heavier than mountain? Hmm?
Fathers.
Father. Very good. See how intelligent. Now all the fathers celebrate. So,
So they protect us.
sorry?
So they protect the kids.
Yeah, yeah. Greater than mountain, actually, not heavier than mountain. Heavier than earth and greater than mountain. Greater than mountain is father. And another important question that Yaksha asks is, what is the most astonishing thing in this world? And then Yudhishthira says, Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yama mandiram sheshastavaram icchanti kimascharyam ataparam. Ahani ahani bhutani means ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yama mandiram. Yama mandiram means Yamaloka. Ahani ahani means over and over again, repeatedly. Bhutani, all the living entities. Gachanti means they go to. They go to Yama Mandiram. Repeatedly, all the living entities go to Yama Mandira, but the, the the people who have remained, they work in such a way that death will never come to them. They work and live in such a way that death will never come to them. The living entities, they see other living entities dying, right? We see our grandparents dying, we see our neighbors dying, we see so many other people dying every day. But we think that death is only for them, not for me. It doesn't come to me. That's our philosophy. And we work and we think and we act, we do everything in such a way that we are going to live forever. We're going to live forever. So that's the philosophy of materialistic people. So another mentality of lawbreakers is they make futile attempts at being controller, enjoyer. Uh, so they can build huge skyscrapers to get happiness, but the happiness that they can get is very flickering. It's temporary. They get some amount of happiness by doing these big projects, but that happiness is temporary. Okay, so don't worry, we're not going to go into the shloka and discuss the details now. We'll take a deep dive into the shlokas from next week or most probably the week after that. Okay, so this is the last topic in this series. In the series of Discover Yourself, this is the last topic. After this, we're going to take a deep dive into the 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. We will recite all the shlokas from every chapter. Every time we meet, every Sunday when we meet, we'll recite all the shlokas from one chapter, and take 2-3 shlokas and discuss their word for word meaning, translation, Acharya's commentary, and we'll have some discussion. Okay, that's why I'm going to skip this shloka now. So now let's talk about law abiders. So basically, law breakers, in one sense, in simple words, this is how you should understand. They lead animalistic life for their enjoyment. They lead an animalistic life for their enjoyment or happiness. They don't follow any rules and regulations. Okay, but law abiders, they also want happiness, but they follow some rules and regulations as given in the Vedas. So karma yogis, jnana yogis, dhyana yogis, bhakta yogis. And within karma yoga, there are two types of people: sakama karma yogi and nishkama karma yogi. Sakama karma yogi means they perform some karma kanda rituals. In Vedas, there is a puja for everything. If you want good wealth, there is a puja. If you want good wife or husband, there is a puja. If you want good son, there is a puja. If you want some employment, there is a puja. If you want to win lottery, there is a puja. There is a puja for everything in Vedas. Okay. So Sakama Karma Yogi are those people who practice these Karma Kanda rituals to get material benefits. Everything for themselves only. Okay. And Nishkama Karma Yogi are those people who perform their work but offer the results to God. There's a famous shloka, right? Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbur ma te sangos akarmani. So you have a right to perform your duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your action. Krishna tells that in chapter 2, shloka number 47. Okay.
I have a question. In Vedas, they say there is a Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. What I have heard is like Purva Mimamsa believers, they believe in Veda, but only as a way of attaining whatever they want to attain.
Material benefits.
Right, material benefits.
Yeah.
But Uttara Mimamsa, they do it for is like Purva Mimamsa people basically they are like the what is it?
Nishkama karma.
Yeah.
Purva Mimamsa is Sakama Karma Yogi. Okay. Sakama Karma Yogi. Yeah. Those who practice Karma Kanda rituals. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Sakama Karmis, they perform some actions for their material benefits. And they don't know that both good karma and bad karma are binding. Sakama Karmis, mostly they perform pious activities. They perform only good work, punya karma. But they don't know that it is binding. We can see that many people, especially those who are learned in the Vedas, okay, who practices Vedas, Veda Parayanam and all those things from very early childhood. They think There is nothing beyond those Vedas. Because the language in the Vedas is very, very attractive. Krishna describes that language as flowery language. Okay? So a person who recites Vedas, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharvana Veda, Rig Veda. So have you seen anybody reciting Vedas anytime? Not just a few mantras, but you should see somebody reciting Vedam. Okay? So next Saturday, 12th is the date, right? 12th is the date. Yeah, next Saturday, there'll be Abhishekam in the temple hall. Right after the Abhishekam, you will see somebody reciting Vedam, Rigvedam. They'll recite Vedam for 1.5 hour. It's very attractive. Okay, it's very rhythmic, melodious. The Sanskrit sound vibration is also very potent. So you feel like you feel like sitting there only. Okay, so obviously a person who has learned Sanskrit and practiced these Vedic mantras, they are so attracted to that. Okay, so they think there is nothing beyond than that. And they think that, oh, okay, I'm doing all good things, I'm not harming anybody, but they don't know that their so-called good work is also not good, because it's binding them in the material world. If they perform so many good deeds, the pious activities, they have to take several births to enjoy those benefits. Okay, so that's not good. And Nishkama Karma, this is the shloka that we just discussed, right? So these people, Nishkama Karma yogis, they perform their work and offer the results to God. So in Nishkama Karma Yoga, what is the principle? The principle is to perform your prescribed duties and offer the results to God. Okay, that is at the action level, karma level. But we need to have the knowledge of where our results are going to. For example, when you are paying tax in the city or in the state, you need to know where my tax dollars are going to. And in this country, we can find that out. How much percentage is going to the schools? How much percentage is going to the roads and other development? How much percentage is going to the libraries? So in this country, at least we can find that out, where my tax dollars are going to. So similarly, when a person who is practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, if he is offering the results of his work to God, he needs to have knowledge of God. He needs to know where his results are going to, right? So that is Jnana. So the cultivation of that knowledge is Jnana Yoga. So the first thing is Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is performing prescribed duties and offering results to God. Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, both are pretty much same. Okay. And then the next level is acquiring knowledge of where the results are going to, of acquiring knowledge of the benefactor of the results, who is receiving the results. So that is Jnana Yoga. Okay. Again, we are not going to the shlokas now. Okay, let me go back to this. Yeah, in Karma Yoga, there is work and little knowledge. You work with an intention to offer the results to God, but you may or may not have knowledge of God. Okay, it's only work. In Karma Yoga level, it's only work. Without proper knowledge of where my tax dollars are going to, you will not be inspired to pay the tax. I mean, we are forced, forget about inspiration, whether you are inspired to pay or not, but you're forced to. But if you know how much percentage is dedicated to schools, and if you have kids going to public schools, probably you will do your taxes properly. You will not cheat.
Only salaried people are forced, right? Businessmen, they can.
Yeah, business people. Yeah, Yeah, they can cheat. So, but if you have the knowledge of how the tax allocation is happening, and then if you know that you are getting benefit from all those developments, you will be inspired to do your taxes properly. Similarly, a karma yogi, initially he may be inspired to offer the results of his work to God, but after some time he may not be inspired to do that unless he acquires knowledge of God and how his results are being accepted by God. He'll not be inspired for a long time. That's why he needs to cultivate knowledge. Oh. Is God really accepting it? For example, when we offer boga or naivedya to God, right? You know, so if you offer 4 vadas and after 10 minutes of boga offering or naivedya offering, you will see 4 vadas only. Right? You offer 4 vadas, you put some curtain or something, and then after 10 minutes you ring the bell and then go there, you will see 4 vadas only, right? So the question is God really accepting it? So when we offer the results of our work, is God actually accepting it? Yes, God is accepting the 4 vadas that you offer. God is accepting. We cannot see that. How God is accepting? We cannot see that. God can eat without. God can eat without mouth. God doesn't have to eat with mouth only. He can eat with his eyes. Huh? And after eating, he can manifest the 4 vadas which are looking exactly like the vadas that you make. We don't know all these things. We don't know how all these things are working. Okay. But the most important thing is when God accepts something, he does not take it by himself, right? That's why the 4 vadas are still remaining there. So that means God leaves his mercy in that offering, whether it is vadas or your work. God accepts and then returns that back to us along with his mercy. Okay. So this kind of knowledge the karma yogis need to acquire. Then they can uh, practice jnana yoga. So jnana yoga is the next level. It's superior to karma yoga. But the uh, so when somebody achieves perfection in jnana yoga, what kind of realization of God they get is Brahman realization. We discussed the 3 different realizations of God, or the 3 aspects of God: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So a person who practices Jnana Yoga, who cultivates knowledge of God, the maximum benefit they get is Brahman realization. So just to give you an idea of what Brahman realization is, Brahman is that energy emanating from the Lord, which is pervading through this entire universe. Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma. God's energy is pervading throughout this universe. Okay. Now in the spiritual world, just imagine this Brahman as a big pool of light. You might have seen this, this graphic image of Brahman. There is a big light, like a whirlpool type of light, and there are small particles. Those particles are nothing but the jivas. The jivas who have practiced jnana yoga and achieved Brahman realization. That means the Atma has merged with Paramatma. That is Brahman realization. What is the problem with that Brahman realization? The problem with Brahman realization is there is no activity. You are just hanging in that big pool there. You have merged with Paramatma. Atma has merged with Paramatma, and you are just hanging in there. There is no activity. There is no ananda. There is no bliss. At least in material world, you can do so many things. You can watch Netflix and get some happiness. But in Brahman platform, there is no Netflix. So there is no Ananda. So what happens eventually? A living entity who has achieved Brahman realization, eventually they will fall down. They'll fall down into the material world.
So,
Initially, they. Huh?
one should not try to attain that.
Yeah. Yeah. One should not try to attain Brahman realization. Yeah. So because when they are practicing Jnana Yoga, their goal is to get liberation, to get moksha. That they will get. Because that Brahman is in the spiritual world only. That pool of light or whatever it is, that is there in spiritual world only. So person will be free from the miseries. Person will be free from birth and death for some time. Okay, not for eternity, but for some time, until they get bored and then eventually they fall down into the material world. They'll be free from miseries. Yeah, because there is no activity, right? They get bored. So some people might stay there, but most of the people that they fall down because it's not very interesting. Without Ananda, it's not very interesting to stay there for a long time. So Jnana Yoga, the perfection of Jnana Yoga is that Brahman realization. Okay, but there are there are millions of people who are practicing this Jnana Yoga. If if they're cultivating true spiritual knowledge, it is okay. It is good. At least they're learning about God. But the problem is with speculative knowledge. People learn something from here, something from there. It's a kichdi. It's the kichdi of different kinds of knowledge from different sources. They get something from Sadguru, something from Asadguru, and something from some other person. This is all nonsense. Whatever Sadguru speaks, it's all nonsense. Okay, I can tell that very confidently. So, and there are 500 million people who are inspired by Sadguru. They have touched 500 million people, and most of them are elite class people. They are supposed to be intelligent, but they are the most unintelligent people. Yeah, you hear any lecture of Sadguru, any Q&A session of Sadguru on YouTube, it's all junk. He doesn't even answer only. He just beats around the bush and then tries to escape.
Inner engineering.
Huh?
After that, he'll go to inner engineering.
Yeah, yeah. He'll ask you to go to inner engineering. You pay $5,000, $6,000 and go to inner engineering. Yeah, it's all nonsense. And we have seen people like that. Osho Rajneesh was there. He had his ashrama in Portland, and then eventually he was arrested and then he died. Huh? So it is not new. We have seen so many people like that. uh, okay, after Jnana Yoga, it is Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga we discussed earlier. It is a practice of the 8 different limbs called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Okay. And maybe somebody can you read the description of the different limbs, starting with Yama?
Don'ts. Regulation, negative prohibitions. Niyama, do's. Rules, positive prescriptions. Asana, sitting postures controlling the body. Pranayama, breathing controlling of breath. Pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. Dharana, controlling the mind, fix the mind, absorption. Dhyana, meditation on God. Samadhi, trance, complete
Complete
absorption.
absorption. Yeah. So one interesting thing here is pranayama, breathing, controlling of breath. Do you mind closing that door? This door. It's closed? Okay. Oh, maybe that door actually. Can you close that door? So one interesting thing here is pranayama, breathing. The yogis who are practicing Ashtanga yoga, they control their breath. They control their breath and prolong their lifespan. Because the lifespan is based on the number of breaths that we take. So by increasing the gap between two breaths, or uh, by stopping breath actually, okay, they can stop breathing for almost like 6 months. They can stop breathing. Initially they stop eating, and then they stop drinking, and eventually they even stop breathing also, and then they can increase their lifespan. Now if we practice stopping breathing, we know what happens. So, and then they progress to the next levels, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Okay. And Krishna talks about this Ashtanga Yoga in 6th chapter. Okay, one whole chapter is dedicated to this. When Krishna talks about Ashtanga Yoga or other yogas, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, it is not like Krishna is recommending those yogas. Krishna is giving different options to different people, but Krishna tells time and again in Bhagavad Gita that Bhakti Yoga is superior to all these yogas. And Bhakti Yoga is the most easiest thing to perform. It's very practical for this Kali Yuga people. It's very practical. Now imagine if somebody have to perform Ashtanga Yoga to get liberation, moksha, or to connect with God. Is it practical in this age? Can we go to Himalayas and sit on deer skin, focus on the tip of the nose? We cannot do all these things. That's why Krishna just described all these things to uh, discard or to reject this process. It is not to recommend this process. Okay, Krishna just described just to prove that how difficult it is. Okay. In fact, at the end of 6th chapter, after hearing all the details of Ashtanga Yoga, Arjuna tells to Krishna that Krishna, this process of Ashtanga Yoga seems to be very difficult and impractical to me. And then Krishna says, yes, I agree with you. This process is very difficult and impractical. And then from 7th chapter onwards, Krishna talks about Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So in Karma Yoga, there is work and little knowledge. Jnana Yoga, there is knowledge and renunciation, but there is no work. Okay, that's a problem. If somebody is cultivating spiritual knowledge and not doing any work, then it can become like a dry philosophy. It can become like dry philosophy. And similarly, if somebody is only doing action, if somebody is only doing karma yoga, without knowledge, then it can become mechanical. Action without knowledge can become mechanical, and knowledge without action can become dry philosophy. That's why we need both action and knowledge. Both are equally important. Action and knowledge, or karma and jnana, they are like the two tracks of a train. For the train to run smoothly, both tracks are needed. So for a spiritualist or for a transcendentalist to achieve perfection, both karma and jnana are needed. Okay. And in Ashtanga Yoga, there is knowledge, renunciation, and meditation. Now, are you ready for any of these yogas? If not Ashtanga Yoga, I know Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. You have to go to Himalayas. But Karma Yoga you can practice in Seattle. Are you ready for it? Jnana Yoga also you can practice anywhere. Just read books. It's not practical. Okay, it's not practical. Karma Yoga, uh, just working and offering results to God, cultivating some knowledge. This is all not practical for this age. So Krishna explains how difficult it is to practice Ashtanga Yoga in chapter 6. Shuchau deshe pratistapya stiramasana atmanah natyuchritam nati neecham Chailajina Kushottaram Tatraikagram Mana Kritva Yata Chittendriya Kriyaha Upavishwasane Yunjvad Yogam Atma Vishuddhaye. Okay, now somebody, Sharon, can you read the translation?
To practice yoga, one should go to secluded place and should lay kushagra
Kushagras.
on the ground and then cover it with the deer skin and soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Yeah. So we all know very well that it's not practical. Now another shloka in 6th chapter where Krishna says how difficult it is. Okay. So we don't have to go into the details. Okay. So here Arjuna says, Yoyam yogastvaya prokta samyena madhusudana. Madhusudana means Krishna. Etasyaham napashyami chanchalatvat stitim stiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Now Arjuna, we know what kind of a warrior he was. He was a great Kshatriya. He was able to shoot at the eye of the fish by looking at the reflection in the water, and that too, the fish was not stable, right? Fish was rotating. Fish was rotating up on the ceiling in a glass container, and then Arjuna had to look at the reflection in the water and then shoot at the eye of the fish. So such a great warrior or Kshatriya, now he himself said it is not practical. This process of Ashtanga Yoga, especially mind control, is not very practical.
He's a Gudakesa. He's a Gudakesa. He's
Gudakesha,
sleep.
he controls sleep also. Yeah, he even controls sleep. So one day he was eating food, dinner. He was eating his dinner, and those days there was no lights, right? So the earthen lamps, okay. So he was sitting under the earthen lamp and taking his meal. And by the gust of the wind, the earthen lamp was blown away, and then it was dark. And then Arjuna thought, okay, I'm about to finish my meal. Let me finish it. So he continued eating and finished his meal. And then he realized, okay, I was able to eat in dark. Why can't I practice shooting in dark? Then that's when he started practicing shooting arrows even at night time. And he conquered sleep. And he got the name as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep. Isha means controller. One who has controlled the sleep is Gudakesha. Now, such a great person, Arjuna is telling that this Ashtanga Yoga is not for me. Now, what to speak of ordinary people like us? It is totally impractical. So Arjuna says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi balavadrudam tasyaham nigruham manye vayur navam ivambasi. Arjuna says, Oh Krishna, I can control the wind. What type of wind? I can control the raging wind, but not my mind. Because mind is chanchala, restless. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi means dangerous. Balava, balam means powerful. And drida means stubborn. So Arjuna uses these four adjectives to describe the mind. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi balavad dridam. So my mind is very restless, very stubborn, very powerful. Huh? I cannot control my mind. I can control the raging wind, but not my mind. And this is one of the important steps of Ashtanga Yoga, that is controlling the mind. So we cannot practice Ashtanga Yoga. Now, even after hearing this process of Ashtanga Yoga, if somebody is ready for it and they practice it, still it is not recommended. Because what happens is when somebody practices Ashtanga Yoga, they can achieve mystic powers. They can achieve mystic powers and they can think that they are God. That is a whole problem, right? We fell from spiritual world into material world to become God. That's why we are practicing yoga. Now, even after practicing yoga, again we think that we are God. Then we are going to square one. So we see in the society, right? There are so many self-proclaimed God men. How did they become God men? They practiced Ashtanga Yoga. They practiced Ashtanga Yoga and achieved mystic powers. So they teleport some vibhuti from somewhere and show it to you. Or they teleport Shivalinga and Satya Sai Baba, right? So he can teleport anything from anywhere and show it in front of you. And he claimed himself as God man. So that is the danger of practicing Ashtanga Yoga. Rather than surrendering to God, rather than becoming a servant of God, we think we are God. And there is another person, right? Nityananda. He created his own island, and he calls himself as Kailas. He calls that island as Kailas, and he calls himself as Maheshwara. So, yeah. Now, whatever, he's still there. Yeah, he's still there, and his followers are still there. Yeah, even after knowing everything what happened, and even after knowing that he's a rascal, still there are followers. They went to UNO to fight. For their country. Yeah. Oh, yeah, to register their country and new passport, all those things. Yeah, what a nonsense.
He has a temple also in Kent.
Yes, they used to have in Redmond. Now from Redmond they moved to Issaquah they moved to Kent now. Yeah. Maybe people are not letting them stay in one place. So, when you go to these places, right? When you go to these shops, these are all spiritual shops. Okay, very dangerous. The very interesting thing is they write in their shop, I'm not here to say that I am God. I'm here to say that you are God. Now, when Saurabh goes to a shop like that and looks at that statement, he'll be impressed. Oh, this person is telling he is not God, but he's telling I am God. And Saurabh will be sold. He'll surrender to him and Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. He'll give all his property and everything, Nishkama Karma Yoga. So that is the danger of practicing Ashtanga Yoga. You'll think that you are God. Okay, even after practicing Ashtanga Yoga, what is the maximum benefit? Paramatma realization. Paramatma realization is far better than Brahman realization. Brahman realization we discussed, right? That pool of light, you're just hanging in the space there. Right now also we are all hanging in the space. The planet, Earth planet is hanging in the space. Uh, Even after practicing Jnana Yoga, we are going to go and merge with Paramatma and hang in the space there. But this Paramatma realization, which is one level higher, is far better than Brahman realization, but is still not good. Okay? Uh, because the kind of worship or the kind of relation with God in Paramatma realization is you worship God with awe and reverence. Awe and reverence means, like, for example, when you go and meet the president, you can see the distant, you can see the president from distance. You cannot go near the president. You cannot crack jokes with him. You cannot invite him to MTR. You cannot do all these things, uh, and that is the type of worship in Paramatma realization. You will have darshan of Narayana, the four-handed Narayana, uh, and you can worship with awe and reverence. Okay. So this is further description of Ashtanga Yoga. We don't have to go into these details. Hmm? They are Ashtasiddhis, yeah. Anima, Mahima, Lagima, Garima, Prapti, Prakamya, Isitva, Vashishtva. You can become smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Just like how Hanuman, he became smaller than the smallest, and then when it is required, he became bigger than the biggest. All those things. Okay. So, if we summarize the four different types of yogas that we discussed, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, we were going to discuss. So, this is the summary. The four boxes. Uh, at the lowest level, it is animalistic life. The law breakers. Remember the very initial slide? Law breakers. They lead unregulated life, animalistic life. Eat, drink, and be merry. They do not follow any rules and regulations. One level higher than that is Sakama Karma Yogis, regulated life for personal enjoyment. They perform Karma Kanda rituals, some pujas, some rituals prescribed in the Vedas to get some material benefits. Okay, that is better than unregulated life. Now, one level higher than that is Karma Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. You work and offer the results to God. And then one level higher than that is knowledge, acquiring knowledge, Jnana Yoga. And one level higher than that is Ashtanga Yoga, meditation. Okay, so this we already discussed. Uh, Not this one. Yeah, this one. Okay, so after discussing all these, the three yogas basically, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and after realizing that these are not practical for this age, Kali Yuga, now let's talk about Bhakti Yoga. So, what's the strongest force in this world? Hmm? What is that? Desire? Okay.
Love.
Huh?
Love.
Love. Yeah, very good. Love. Okay. That's why all the movies, they all talk about love only, right? You see any movie that was released in 1960 and a recent movie, the most important topic is love only. Okay. Because it's the strongest force in this world. We are all attracted to a person who is very loving, lovable. So now, after we realize that the three types of yogas are not for us, now we should fall in love. So what kind of love is that? Love for God. Okay, love for God. So we can fall in love for God by practicing bhakti yoga. That is the essence of any religion. The perfection of any religion, the so-called Hindu religion, Christianity, Islam, Jewish, the perfection of any religion is to develop love for God. To develop love for God. So now in Bhakti Yoga, there is work. You do some devotional service. That is work. There is knowledge. Because what we are doing, we are all practicing Bhakti Yoga, but we are acquiring knowledge of God also. Okay? We are not acquiring knowledge as a full-time job. Just like how Jnana Yogis do. Just like how Jnana Yogis do, their full-time job is to read and acquire knowledge and some speculative knowledge, they always think maybe God is like this, maybe God is like that, maybe God has form, maybe God doesn't have form. Huh? So all those speculations. But we are not like that. We are acquiring knowledge from a authentic source, from a bona fide source. And that is not our full-time job. While working, we are acquiring knowledge. While acquiring knowledge, we are doing other things. Okay? The other things are meditation, mantra meditation, chanting. We'll talk about those things.
Prabhuji, I have a question here. So you said Bhakti Yoga is the easiest, but it seems to you need to do everything. It looks like seems to be the hardest.
No, no, no. If you are practicing Bhakti Yoga, it is equivalent to practicing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga. It's a superset of everything. It includes the benefit of all the other three. Yeah. So it is not like you have to still go to Himalayas and then practice Ashtanga Yoga. No, by practicing Bhakti Yoga, you get the benefit of all the other yogas, including Bhakti Yoga, including the benefit of Bhakti Yoga. So when you love somebody, uh, so uh, what is the motto or slogan of the people who love somebody?
You want to see them happy.
Huh?
You want to see them happy.
Yeah, your happiness is my happiness, your distress is my distress. If you are happy, I am happy. If you are sad, I am sad. Right? Just go back to your college days. Huh?
Also, they should love us back.
Yeah. Yeah, they should love us back. Conditions apply. So, so there are three things. In love, there are three things. What are the three things? Three objects. One is the lover. Second one is the beloved. Third one is
Love.
the love itself. Okay? Love is not a noun, it's a verb. Love means action. So the third object is action. So there is lover, beloved, and then the process of loving, the action. So, and a person who loves somebody, a boy who loves a girl, they'll do anything for the beloved. They can even get moon. They can even get the moon. uh, you want to know more and more about your beloved. Huh? You want everything for your beloved, nothing for yourself. You are always, and this we can see between mother and child, right? Not between boy and girl, but the third one between mother and between mother and child. Between boy and girl, the boy wants for the girl and for the boy also. They want it for both. But the third thing, you want everything for your beloved and nothing for yourself. That is only between mother and child. Mother sacrifices everything for the child. Even if mother doesn't have anything to eat, if the child is hungry, mother lets the child eat everything, and then mother is ready to stay hungry. You are always absorbed in the thoughts of your beloved. I mean, this is self-explanatory. We all have experienced this. You are completely devoted to your beloved. Yes. So these are the symptoms of a person who love somebody. Now, do we have these symptoms? Do we have these qualities, or do we have such kind of love for God? No, we don't. We are trying to develop these qualities. We are trying to develop love for God. We are trying to develop an attitude where I can say that I'm ready to do everything for you, Krishna. Your happiness is my happiness, Krishna. I don't want anything for myself. I want everything. I want to give everything to you. So right now we don't have these qualities or this bhava. We don't have this bhava. We are trying to develop. Now to develop this bhava, some qualification is required. So do I qualify? If so, what is the qualification? Everybody is qualified. Okay? Rich, poor, beautiful, handsome, everybody, time, place and circumstances, irrespective of the race, caste, irrespective of creed or anything, everybody is qualified. This is universal. Just like how the general love in the society is universal, uh, it is universal among human beings, it's universal among animals, it's universal among trees also. Even trees also love. So just like how universal is generally how love is universal in the society in general, love for God is also universal everywhere. Whether you are an American, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, you know, irrespective of all these material qualifications, everybody can practice Bhakti Yoga. Everybody can practice Bhakti Yoga to develop love for God. Okay? And you don't need to have any money, you don't need to have high intelligence. Anybody can practice Bhakti Yoga. You don't need to go to Himalayas, you don't need to buy deer skin. Hmm? But the only qualification that is needed is a strong desire to serve. A strong desire to serve, please, and surrender to God. That's the only qualification. When we are ready to serve God, and if we are able to please God with our service, then what happens? God takes self-interest in us. God takes self-interest in us to help us go back to spiritual world. Right now we are all struggling in this material world and we are trying to get out and go back to spiritual world. And we are scratching our head how to go back to spiritual world. And with our own efforts, just like how Ashtanga yogis do. Okay? Ashtanga yogi, they are by themselves. They have to put their own endeavor, they have to struggle very hard, and then achieve perfection. Even after achieving perfection, they have to plan their death in such a way that they have to die on an auspicious day, like Ekadashi day or something like that, and that too during daytime, and the soul has to pass through Sahasrara Chakra. There are so many conditions. It's not so easy. Even for a perfectionist in Ashtanga Yoga, to go back to spiritual world is not so easy. And all the endeavor has to be done by themselves. He's a one-man army there. Nobody is going to come and help. Hey, I can help you control your mind. I can help you, send your soul through Sahasrara Chakra. Nobody is going to help. Even God is not going to help. Okay? But in Bhakti Yoga, when you start serving, now I'm not talking about perfection. When you start serving, even if you do little service to God, God is pleased and God takes self-interest in us. God takes personal interest in us. God comes personally and helps us. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. You all heard that LIC slogan, right? Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Where does that come from? Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita chapter 9. Yeah, chapter 9. That sloka comes. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. That means Krishna says, I provide what you lack and I protect what you have. I provide what you lack, I protect what you have. That is LIC business, right? so, Hare Krishna. Yeah. Now, looking at these two pictures at the bottom of the screen, now we can understand the different types of yoga. The Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Yoga, or Jnana Yoga is like that of a baby monkey. Now, if baby monkey has to go from one place to another place, what does the baby monkey have to do? Baby monkey has to put an endeavor to hold the tummy of the mother monkey. Okay? And now look at the mother monkey. Mother monkey is just putting the hands on the ground. Mother monkey is not even holding the baby monkey. Now we can see, when the mother monkey goes goes around with the baby monkey, you don't see the hands around the baby monkey. Baby monkey has to do all the endeavor. Okay. Now, if baby monkey slips by chance, then gone. Okay. Uh, Whereas the right side picture, the mother cat or kitten, holding the baby kitten. The Lord is taking the complete responsibility. Now the baby kitten is not doing anything, right? Baby kitten is not holding anything. The mother kitten is holding the baby kitten by mouth and takes the baby kitten from one place to another place. The Lord takes complete responsibility. When we practice bhakti yoga, when we serve God, when we please God, God personally comes and takes responsibility. So we have seen in the examples of many devotees in the Puranas and also in the recent times, there are many live examples of devotees who lived in the recent times, who practiced bhakti yoga, and then how God personally came and helped them. We saw all those cases. Now let's hear from Krishna what he has to say about bhakti yoga. So in simple words, we can consider these two approaches. One approach is starting from karma yoga or karma kanda, karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga. That is one approach. The other approach is straight away practice bhakti yoga. Okay. So the approach of going step by step is called a staircase approach. If you have to go to the top of a 20-story building, there are two approaches. Either you can take staircase or you can take the elevator. So the approach of practicing karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga and so on, that is staircase approach. Still you'll reach the top of the 20th floor, but it takes long time. It takes long time and very difficult. You may give up halfway through it only. You may not even sustain. Whereas bhakti yoga is very easy. It's an elevator approach. It's very fast, very easy to do. Anybody can do. Even a person on deathbed can practice bhakti yoga. Even a person on the deathbed can practice bhakti yoga. Because chanting anybody can do. Smarana, remembering God, anybody can do. Even the deathbed they can do. Okay. So Krishna says in chapter 6, shloka number 47, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. You want to read the translation?
Of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is
That
my
is my
opinion.
opinion. So Krishna, after explaining Karma Yoga in chapter 3, 4 and 5 and Ashtanga Yoga in chapter 6 and also Jnana Yoga in chapter 4, at the end of chapter 6, this is the last shloka in chapter 6, Krishna said, of all the yogi means of all the Karma Yogis, Jnana Yogis and Ashtanga Yogis, that person who always thinks of me is the topmost yogi. And there is a process called smarana in Bhakti Yoga, which is nothing but thinking of God all the time, 24/7. Okay, so Krishna, in simple words, Krishna is saying that one who practices Bhakti Yoga and always fixes their mind upon me is the topmost yogi. Okay, and another shloka that Krishna is telling about Bhakti Yoga, chapter 18:65. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaishvasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Another shloka. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaisyami masuchaha. Abandon everything and just surrender unto me. Sharanagati. Then there are other shlokas. We can skip this. What's the time? 7:58. Okay. So there are many slides, but I will just discuss one slide and then we can complete this topic. Did I close that? So this we discussed, the staircase approach and elevator approach. Um, yeah, this one. So we'll just discuss this for next couple of minutes and then we can wrap it up. So we talked so much about Bhakti Yoga, right? The devotional service. So what exactly is involved in Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga has 9 processes, Navavida Bhakti. There are 9 different steps in Bhakti Yoga. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Vandanam, Atmanivedanam. Okay. Are those described in the previous slide? No. Okay. So Shravanam. Shravanam is hearing about God. Just like, we are all hearing about God from Bhagavad Gita. Or you read Ramayana, Srimad Bhagavatam. That is Shravanam. It's a good habit to go to YouTube and continuously listen to some lectures. Okay. Listen from one source. Okay. Whatever source you like, listen from one source, except Sadguru. Okay. So within ISKCON, there are so many. Or if somebody is inspired by, for example, Dushyant Sridhar from Sri Vaishnava philosophy, yes, very, very good. But listen from some authentic source. Velikudi Krishnan, yeah. So find out some authentic source and then listen to some lectures constantly. So what happens when we hear? When we hear, our faith increases. If we meet a stranger, for example, Saurabh, he just moved to Bellevue. Now we don't know about him. Whether he's a nice person or not so nice person, we don't know about him. The more we hear about him, the stronger our faith will become. Okay, we can trust him. So that's why Krishna in 6 chapters, from chapter 7 to 12, he gives various details about him. Okay. Now when we hear, we not only know about God, but we get rid of all the anarthas in our heart. Anarthas means the contamination. So what is the contamination? All of us have 6 types of contamination. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and envy. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Lobha. Okay? 6 anarthas, Arishad Vargas. So when we hear about God, we get rid of these anarthas or contamination. That's our goal, right? We should get purified. Next process is Kirtanam. Kirtanam is speaking about God, glorifying God. If somebody is good at singing, they can sing nice kirtans to glorify God. The word kirtana comes from the root word kirti. Kirti means name and fame. When you are singing glories of the Lord, then it is kirtanam. Okay. So all the demigods, including the devatas, Brahma, Varuna, Vayu, Indra, all these devatas, they always sing the glories of the Lord. Narada, there's a nice shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुता स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवा वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यत्सामगा ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. The shloka says all the great personalities like Brahma, Indra, Varuna, Vayu, they always sing the glories of the Lord. Okay, that is a process of kirtanam. Now when you go and take darshan of the Lord, instead of just standing in front of the Lord quietly, say some prayers. Say some prayers to glorify the Lord. Okay, kirtanam. And then smaranam, the most important thing. And we'll end with this. Smaranam is the process of remembering God. The goal of all the other 8 processes in bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, Vandanam, the goal of all the other processes in bhakti yoga is Smaranam, to remember God all the time. The purpose of hearing about God is to remember God. The purpose of glorifying God is to remember God. When you stand in front of Balaji deity here and say some prayers, now it is very easy for you when you go back home and then, when you are about to sleep, you can remember those prayers and you can remember the form of the Lord. That is the goal, Smaranam. And if you practice this process of Smaranam, and if we are able to remember God at the time of death, we go back to God. Okay? And other processes we can discuss when we do the systematic study of Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Okay? So I think we can conclude here. Unless anybody has a quick question, comment, reflection, something. No questions? Hmm. Kids are waiting. Yes, that's the most important. Yes, mother is more heavier than Prithvi. Yes. Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna. We'll continue next week. Yeah. Hare Krishna.